Now to Lansing, investigators discussing these charges in this case.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this important update on our efforts to keep Michigan safe. Law enforcement is always a team effort, and today I am grateful to stand alongside four leading partners who worked collaboratively and decisively to thwart a serious and credible threat to public safety. This effort would not have been possible without a unified front, including all levels of law enforcement focused on protecting the safety and well-being of our citizens. So today, I am joined by U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, Andrew Birge, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Matthew Schneider. Any moment now, we will have the FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Josh Hoxhurst, and we have Michigan State Police Colonel Joe Gasper. The interagency effort represented here in tandem with my office culminated in the execution of several search warrants and arrests across the state, including in the communities of Grand Rapids, Heartland, Luther, Canton, Orion Township, Waterford, Belleville, Milford, Cadillac, Shelbyville, Plainwell, Zeeland, Munith, Ovid, Kalamazoo, Charlotte, Clarkston, Sterling Heights, and Shelby Township. Our efforts uncovered elaborate plans to endanger the lives of law enforcement officers, government officials, and the broader public. The multi-front operation to apprehend the suspects in question was carefully coordinated and skillfully executed, resulting, very fortunately, in no casualties. Now, before we announce the preliminary charges, I want to thank the hundreds of law enforcement officers who worked across agencies and across state lines, and we are very grateful for their safety. And with that, I'll ask U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, Mr. Andrew Birge, to tell you a little bit more about the effort.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Attorney General Nessel. Last night, the FBI and Michigan State Police arrested 6 individuals charged in a federal complaint with conspiring to kidnap the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. According to the complaint, unsealed this morning, Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Ty Garbin, Kaleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta conspired to kidnap the governor from her vacation home in the Western District of Michigan before the November election. Under federal law, each of these individuals faces a term of any number of years up to life in prison if convicted. Fox, Garbin, Franks, Harris, and Caserta are residents of Michigan. Croft is a resident of Delaware. All of us standing here today want the public to know that federal and state law enforcement are committed to working together to make sure violent extremists never succeed with their plans, particularly when they target our duly elected leaders. The federal complaint in this case alleges that the FBI began an investigation earlier this year after becoming aware that through social media that a group of individuals was discussing the violent overthrow of certain government and law enforcement components. Through confidential sources, undercover agents, and clandestine recordings, law enforcement learned particular individuals were planning to kidnap the governor and acting in furtherance of that plan. The alleged conspirators used operational security measures, including communicating by encrypted messaging platforms, and used code words and phrases in an attempt to avoid detection by law enforcement. Among other activities, members of this conspiracy on 2 occasions conducted coordinated surveillance on the governor's vacation home. Fox and Croft, in particular, according to the complaint, discussed detonating explosive devices to divert police from the area of the home. And Fox even inspected the underside of a Michigan highway bridge for places to seat an explosive. The complaint further alleges that Fox purchased a taser for use in the kidnapping and that the group successfully detonated an improvised explosive device wrapped with shrapnel to test its anti-personnel capabilities. The FBI and state police executed arrests of several of the conspirators when they were meeting on the east side of the state to pool funds for explosives and exchange tactical gear. This investigation is ongoing. Agents of the Detroit field office of the FBI and other members of their Joint Terrorism Task Force, including the Michigan State Police, are conducting this investigation. Agents in the Baltimore field office of the FBI, which covers Delaware, have also assisted. My office, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Michigan, is prosecuting this federal case. U.S. Attorney's offices in the Eastern District of Michigan and Delaware are and have been assisting. And the state of Michigan has brought related charges against other individuals. Of course, those charged with a crime still have rights that we respect. The allegations in the complaint are accusations. And the defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty in a court of law. These defendants have begun to make their initial appearances in federal court, and the court will be scheduling their arraignments as well as bond and preliminary hearings. Now, it is my privilege to introduce to you the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Matthew Schneider, for some additional remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon. All of us in Michigan can disagree about politics, but those disagreements should never, ever amount to violence. Because of the hard work of the men and women of law enforcement, police officers, and federal agents, violence has been prevented today. This case is being brought in the Western District of Michigan. Some of the defendants reside in the Eastern District, where some of the search warrants took place. But at the end of the day, what matters most is that the people of Michigan should be reassured that our state and federal governments are working together to keep us all safe. I wanted to thank Attorney General Nessel and her office for her outstanding work and her committed partnership. I also thank Colonel Gasper, the FBI, and of course, U.S. Attorney Birge. Every day, police officers and federal agents put their lives on the line, and they do that for us. In this case, the agents made swift and safe arrests, and those were done by those officers and agents. We are most thankful to them. Thank you. It's my pleasure now to introduce the Director of the Michigan State Police, Colonel Joe Gasper.
Thank you, Attorney General Nessel, U.S. Attorneys Birge and Schneider, and thank you to the FBI also. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone today. And I'd first like to start out by saying thank you to the men and women of the Michigan State Police, the FBI, and any additional agencies that assisted in this investigation. They not only worked tirelessly over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours, but also since the beginning of this investigation. So thank you. Job well done. To the partners here today, I want to express our gratitude for the support and the cooperation, the partnership that all of us here are demonstrating. This case is one of the largest cases in recent history that the MSP has been involved in, and I think that the nature of this case is rather unprecedented, but it does send a very vivid reminder that while we may be in a time period of discourse, possibly even divisiveness and fighting across the nation, law enforcement stands united. And for those who think that law enforcement is distracted, let me assure you that we are very much engaged with taking our responsibility to protect the public very seriously. We took an oath to protect and defend and to serve, and together we will take swift action against anyone who is planning or seeking to commit violence or harm to anyone in the state of Michigan. Thank you again for the cooperation, and I will now turn it back to Attorney General Nessel.
Well, unfortunately, it appears as though FBI Assistant Special Agent Hoxhurst has not made it with us in time, but is he here? He's on his way? Okay. Well, if he gets here when I'm done speaking, I will try to speak slowly so that we can make time for his appearance. But anyway, thanks again to the Colonel and to, of course, U.S. Attorneys Birge and Schneider, and the FBI, state police, everyone's effort here, so important. But I'd like to announce that my office has filed additional charges in addition to the charges already announced by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Western District. On account of the state, we have additional charges, so I'd like to announce the following preliminary charges pursuant to the Michigan Anti-Terrorism Act against 7 individuals, all of whom are now in custody, linked to the militia group Wolverine Watchmen and associates of Wolverine Watchmen. The individuals in custody are suspected to have attempted to identify the home addresses of law enforcement officers in order to target them, made threats of violence intended to instigate a civil war, and engaged in planning and training for an operation to attack the Capitol building of Michigan and to kidnap government officials, including the governor of Michigan. Now, it's important to note that these charges are subject to change after a complete review of the evidence obtained last night and may differ from those charged at the federal level. So we've issued the following charges against the following individuals. Paul Beller, age 21, of Milford, who is charged with 3 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, a 20-year felony and or $20,000 fine, gang membership, a 20-year felony which may be served as a consecutive sentence, carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony, otherwise known as felony firearm, a 2-year mandatory prison sentence to be served consecutive to the other charges. Sean Fix, age 38, of Belleville, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, a 20-year felony, carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. Eric Molitor, age 36, of Cadillac, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. Michael Null, age 38, of Plainwell, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. William Null, of Shelbyville, charged with 2 felony counts, providing material support for terrorist acts, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. And finally, Pete Musico, age 42, and Joseph Morrison, age 42, who lived together in Munich. And these men are both charged with 4 felony counts, 1 count of threat of terrorism, a 20-year felony, and or $20,000 fine, 1 count of gang membership, again, a 20-year felony that may be served as a consecutive sentence, 1 count each of providing material support for terrorist acts, and 1 count each for carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony firearm. And before I continue with my remarks, I see that FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Josh Hoxhurst, is here, and I'd like to bring him up for a few remarks.
Good morning. Thank you. On behalf of the FBI in Michigan, I would like to thank you and our partners of the U.S. Attorney's offices of both the Western and Eastern Districts of Michigan and the Michigan Attorney General's Office and the Michigan State Police. The primary mission of the FBI is to protect the American people and uphold the Constitution. This investigation is an example of our continued commitment to that mission to both protect the people of this state and to adhere to the rights reserved by the Constitution. The alleged conspirators are extremists who undertook a plot to kidnap a sitting governor. Whenever extremists move into the realm of actually plotting or planning violent acts, the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force stands ready to identify, disrupt, and dismantle their operations, preventing them from following through on those plans. An operation of this scope cannot occur without the assistance of law enforcement agencies, large and small. We are incredibly proud of the work of our agents, task force officers, and law enforcement partners during last night's operation and throughout the course of this investigation. We rely on the public's assistance to help keep us safe. If you see suspected criminal activity and want to report to the FBI, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit tips online at tips.fbi.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Special Agent. Well, with that, I just want to do a few things. First of all, I think it's important to give a shout out, at least to my staff, since I have the ability to do that, since we're in our home offices here. And I just want to, with deep gratitude, thank Solicitor General Fadwa Hammoud, Chief Deputy Christina Grassi, Chief of our Criminal Division Danielle Hackeman Clark, John Pallas, our First Assistant in our Criminal Division, the head of our Hate Crimes Division, Sunitha Dadamani, and Tom Fabus, who is the Chief of our Investigative Unit. So I wanted to say thanks to all of you. And in addition, of course, it's always important, again, to reiterate that a criminal charge is merely an allegation and the defendants are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. But with that, I want to thank everyone up here in law enforcement and everyone who participated in this matter and who will continue, of course, to participate in this matter for their incredible efforts, their very brave efforts over the course of the past many months, and to say to them that your efforts have left the people of this state safer and the instruments of our government stronger. And I know that I speak on behalf of Michiganders all across this state when I say that we are grateful and we are indebted to you for your actions. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Earlier today, Attorney General Dana Nessel was joined by officials from the Department of Justice and the FBI to announce state and federal charges against 13 members of 2 militia groups who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me. When I put my hand on the Bible and took the oath of office 22 months ago, I knew this job would be hard. But I'll be honest, I never could have imagined anything like this. I want to start by saying thank you to our law enforcement. Thank you to the fearless FBI agents. And thank you to the brave Michigan State Police troopers who participated in this operation, acting under the leadership of Colonel Joe Gasper. I also want to thank Attorney General Nessel and the U.S. Attorneys Birge and Schneider and their teams for pursuing criminal charges that hopefully will lead to convictions, bringing these sick and depraved men to justice. As a mom with 2 teenage daughters and 3 stepsons, my husband and I are eternally grateful to everyone who put themselves in harm's way to keep our family safe. 2020 has been a hard year for all of us. Hard for our doctors and nurses and truck drivers, grocery store workers. It's been hard for the teachers and students and parents. Hard for those who have had to stay isolated to stay safe. And it's not over yet. But here's what I know. We're Michiganders. We have grit, we have heart, and we are tough as hell. We made it through the Great Recession. We made it through auto bankruptcies. We made it through floods and polar vortexes. But none of us has faced a challenge like COVID-19, not in our lifetimes. I've said it many times, we are not one another's enemy. This virus is our enemy, and this enemy is relentless. It doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, young or old, rich or poor. It doesn't care if we're tired of it. It threatens us all, our lives, our families, our jobs, our businesses, our economy. It preys on our elderly and medically vulnerable residents. And it has exposed deep inequities in our society. This should be a moment for national unity, where we all pull together as Americans to meet this challenge head on with the same might and muscle that put a man on the moon. Seeing the humanity in one another and doing our part to help our country get through this. Instead, our head of state has spent the past 7 months denying science, ignoring his own health experts, stoking distrust, fomenting anger, and giving comfort to those who spread fear and hatred and division. Just last week, the President of the United States stood before the American people and refused to condemn white supremacists and hate groups like these two Michigan militia groups. Stand back and stand by, he told them. Stand back and stand by. Hate groups heard the president's words not as a rebuke, but as a rallying cry, as a call to action. When our leaders speak, their words matter. They carry weight. When our leaders meet with, encourage, or fraternize with domestic terrorists, they legitimize their actions, and they are complicit. When they stoke and contribute to hate speech, they are complicit. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan spoke to the NAACP's annual convention, and his comments stand in sharp contrast to what we have seen on the national and state level from his own beloved party in 2020. He said, "A few isolated groups in the backwater of American life still hold perverted notions of what America is all about. Recently, in some places in the nation, there's been a disturbing recurrence of bigotry and violence." Then Reagan sent a direct message to those who still adhere to senseless racism and religious prejudice. "You are the ones who are out of step with our society," he said. "You are the ones who willfully violate the meaning of the dream that is America. And this country, because of what it stands for, will not stand for your conduct." So let me say this loud and clear. Hatred, bigotry, and violence have no place in the great state of Michigan. If you break the law or conspire to commit heinous acts of violence against anyone, we will find you, we will hold you accountable, and we will bring you to justice. For the past 7 months, I've made tough choices to keep our state safe. These have been gut-wrenching decisions no governor has ever had to make. And I get it. Life has been hard for us all. When I get out of bed every morning, I think about the high school seniors, like my daughter, who missed graduation ceremonies, or those Michiganders who've missed weddings and funerals. I think about all the moms who are working from home, making breakfast every day, logging their kids onto their Zoom class, and doing the laundry. Think about the small business owners who spent a lifetime building something great, who are now hanging on by their fingernails just to keep the lights on. The disruption this virus has caused to our daily lives is immeasurable. and it has already taken the lives of more than 210,000 Americans, including over 6,800 right here in Michigan. As painful as these losses are, our hard work and sacrifices have saved thousands of lives. We have one of the strongest economic recoveries in the nation. Make no mistake, there will be more hard days ahead. But I want the people of Michigan to know this. As your governor, I will never stop doing everything in my power to keep you and your family safe. You don't have to agree with me, but I do ask one thing. Never forget that we are all in this together. Let's show a little kindness and a lot more empathy. Let's give one another a little grace, and let's take care of each other. Wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart, wash your hands frequently, and look out for your neighbors. We are Michiganders. I know we can get through this. We will get through this. So let's get through it together. Thank you.
TV8. This is a breaking news alert.
Major breaking news right now at noon. Several people arrested in an alleged organized, elaborate plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. We're interrupting French Open coverage for a special report right now.
This news coming down within the hour. Here's what we know. 6 men, Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Ty Garbin, Kaleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta are all named in a federal criminal complaint filed by the FBI as co-conspirators in a plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. At least 5 of those named are Michigan residents, and one of them, Adam Fox, has a business here in Grand Rapids. The FBI says the group of 6 organizers, along with others, were planning a violent overthrow of government and were working with a militia group to grow its numbers.
They had a plan to attack the governor's lakeside vacation home and even blow up a bridge to slow down response. They also apparently made bombs, tested them. This is according to the FBI. They also talked about storming the Capitol and killing the governor and others. The group took lots of concrete steps to actually make at least the kidnapping plot happen, even going as far as traveling to the lake to stake out locations. A lot of details all laid out in a 15-page complaint that we're still digesting right now. The plot ends with the group's stated desire to kidnap Whitmer before the November 3rd election. News 8's Susan Samples is live at the Vac Shack on Grand Rapids South Side right now, which was investigated by the FBI last night. So, Susan, what are you learning?
Right. This is one of the locations that was raided. This is a vacuum repair shop, the Vac Shop. This is at the corner of 36th and Division Avenue. And I'm here with the owner of that shop right now. He is Brian Titus, and he has some information he wants to share. What's your understanding about what they were looking for last night when they raided your shop?
The FBI agent called me, and they told me that there was going to be a raid at my store, and they were trying to get a key. So they told me if I got here before them not to go in the store. But they told me they were looking for weapons or any kind of ammo. But I just wanted to understand that he don't own a business. I own the business. And I've known him since he was 8 years old. I knew he belonged to the militia, but I didn't know it was this deep. He kept it pretty quiet. So I just want to let everybody know people are safe to come to my business. The store's been here 40 years. That's what happens when you try to help out people. He broke up with his girlfriend a week ago, and he had nowhere to go with his dogs. You can see there's dogs in here. So I told him that he had to find a place. He was looking for a place. He actually had a place at 1 November to move out. And I'm a Marine veteran of 12 years. This is established business. People are safe to come here. It's just when you go out and help out people, this is what's happened. So they weren't looking at anything I did wrong because I didn't know about it.
We're talking about Adam Fox.
I don't know what happened. He's changed in the last 8 months. He had his own militia. As a Marine vet of 12 years, there's a lot of militias out there. I didn't think anything of it until he had his weapons. I told him he had to leave here 1 November to help him out. But he has changed in the last 8 months with COVID, wearing a mask. He believes his Constitution rights were taken away from him. He's afraid that if the Democrats become in, he kept saying they're going to take our Second Amendment rights away. And he's just, I don't know, he got involved with something over his head. So.
Did you have any idea that he was planning this?
No, I don't. I had no idea. And the FBI knew it. They knew it. They weren't looking after me and my business. They were looking for his stuff. Because obviously they already knew, I don't know if they had a plan in his militia or whatever, but obviously they did, how they knew so much. But they actually wanted to go through the stuff and make sure there was nothing in the store. It's completely safe. There was no bombs or explosives in here. Mainly ammo and some weapons.
And what kind of weapons are we talking about?
There was a 9mm and 2 ARs. And a lot of rounds and attachments.
2 assault rifles and a 9mm.
Right.
You said he's changed so much. What was he saying about the government?
He was anti-police, anti-government. He was afraid that if he didn't stand up with his Second Amendment and his rights, that country is going to go communism and communism and socialism.
When's the last time you saw Adam Fox?
Saw him yesterday, and he was here. He said he was going to a meeting somewhere, which is normal, meeting. But he never tells me what he's doing. But I kind of started seeing things. That's why I told him he had to get out of my store 1 November.
What did you start seeing?
Him buying more ammo, having more meetings. I didn't know he was up to all this, but I knew that you go to the meetings in Lansing. I thought he was just trying to stand up for our constitutional rights. That's basically what I thought.
What kind of meetings in Lansing?
When they had the protests in Lansing.
Which protest?
The one for Militia were there a few months back. He went to that. But just want people to know, don't be scared to come here. It'd be like somebody if you brought them in your house and they were a bad apple and they raided your house because they lived there. I feel like I was violated. They took my computer, took my cell phone. They say they're going to get it all back. They know I'm not involved, just caught in a bad situation. And
okay. Tell me, it's Brian Titus, right?
Yes.
And you're the owner here.
I'm the owner. He's not the owner. I saw you pat him as the owner. He's not the owner.
He does not have a business in town.
No, he don't.
He was staying here because he's homeless.
Had no place to live. Felt sorry, but I told him he had to have his own place 1 November in a few weeks.
Okay. You were trying to do a good thing for somebody, right. somebody in need.
I didn't want him living in his car or in the street because I've known him since he was a little kid. He just changed. A lot of people have changed in the last year. It's hard.
Did you ever think that he could have a violent, idea or plan?
No, he had a temper, but who don't, He didn't mention anything in here about that. He kept that pretty quiet.
But you knew the militia piece.
I knew he had his own militia, which there's a lot of militias around,
Thank you very much for talking to us.
And God bless everybody. I'm a Christian, and my beliefs just keep me going. This is very hard for me. I have a family to take care of.
You don't have any plans of shutting down this vacuum shop?
No, I'm not shutting down. I've been open since March. It's been really tough. So come on in and we'll talk if you want to come in. Give you a discount on a vacuum or some supplies.
Brian Titus, owner of Vac Shack here at 36th and Division. You heard it from him. His, friend, you would call him a friend, that he's been helping for much of Adam Fox's life. He let live here recently because he was homeless and knew he was in the militia. Brian says he did not know about the plan, the alleged plot. So that's what we know right now from here, 36th and Division, the VAC shop. Back to you guys right now.
All right, Susan Samples reporting live for us. And again, you saw that video from last night of the FBI raiding that vac shack. At the time, we had no idea.
We had no idea that it would lead to what we're discovering in this very large complaint that we're still going through. But you're hearing from the owner of that vacuum shop where some of these meetings did take place. So obviously a very emotional owner there saying he didn't know any of this stuff was going on.
And in less than an hour, we are expecting a 1 p.m. news conference from the FBI and the State Attorney General Dana Nessel. That's at 1 o'clock this afternoon. In a bit, we expect it to be regarding this plot to kidnap the governor. We'll carry that live here at Wood TV and at woodtv.com. We now return you.